Hello and welcome back to Eva's House of Spirit. I'm Eva, for those of you who may be newer to this channel who may not quite be acquainted with me. And it's been a good while since I last made a video because I've been dealing with a lot in my personal life. If you've watched my previous two videos, you will know that I had a transition from one job to the one that I'm currently working. Unfortunately, I was fired from my last job over some really stupid, crazy stuff. And for like about a month, roughly for about a month, I was on unemployment, and then my former employer contested it, and I'm still dealing with the appeal process for that. But it's okay. My new job is going pretty well. Everything is positive, knock wood. That's taken a lot of my focus away, and I've just kind of been juggling things and sorting things out, and that's why I haven't been around. But I'm going to make an effort to change that, to be around more often. I kind of wanted to make a video to get back into the YouTube game, so to speak. We are moving now into the fall season, one where there is a sort of closer proximity, I think, between the living and the departed. And I began to think of people in general who have lost someone, people grieving. I thought I would talk about ways to remember and honor those that have been lost. These suggestions may not suit everybody. If you're not at a place where you feel that you can do these, then don't. If you feel inspired to doing something else that feels much more within the realm of what you feel that you can do, or what feels, I guess you could say, comfortable for you, or just feels better to do, then, do that. And if you feel that you don't want to do anything, any of these, then don't. I'm not trying to say that there is a right or wrong way to honor people that have gone before. I'm not trying to say at all that, there's a right or wrong way to grieve. There is not. The first suggestion I have for you is one that actually comes from this book called Crafting a Meaningful Home by Meg Mateo Ilasco. That's what the cover looks like. This book, it has in it a lot of crafts that have meaning, things that are not just cute or fun to make, but there's more substance there. And for a lot of pagan people, I recognize that the home is very closely tied to the spiritual experience. There is a very sacred quality to domestic life. And so in this book, one of the crafts that is really appropriate to my discussion today, one of the crafts is creating a coverlet or a quilt from the clothing of a lost loved one. There is a section here titled Dad's Patchwork Coverlet. And you see there's the photo of this lady making a coverlet. And let me just read you this little snippet of this book, this little introduction to this craft, to give you an idea of what the concept is behind creating a quilt or a coverlet from the clothing of a lost loved one. It says, when a loved one dies, eventually family members must deal with the possessions left behind. When Ray Dunn's father, Roy Dunn, passed away in 2008, she and her mother, Conchita, faced a heart-wrenching decision: hold on to his possessions or donate them to a local thrift store. For months, his clothes sat in the closet because neither Ray nor her mother could bring herself to part with them. Clothing stirs up distinct memories through style, color, texture, scent, and even associations with times and events. Within his family, Roy Dunn was known for wearing button-down shirts. He wore some for work and others for leisure, such as when he played golf or went fishing. While looking at his shirts one day, Ray thought about her childhood in Fresno, California, when her father would return home from a long day working as a cook at his restaurant. He'd wake Ray, eat a little snack with her, and then tuck her back into bed. Ray then had an idea. She would take some of his shirts and turn them into a coverlet. After carefully cutting them into large rectangles, intentionally preserving areas with buttons or pockets, she sewed them together and applied soft flannel backing. As a surprise, she presented the coverlet to her mother so she could literally wrap herself in memories of her husband. And there's an image of what the coverlet looks like. This is one thing that can be done to honor the memory of someone who has gone before and to preserve memories of that person, of experiences shared with that person. This is something that I think could potentially become a family heirloom. And it's something that, because it requires work and attention and focus, it's, I think, sort of a very positive and productive process, a way to focus one's energy and attention less on the loss and more on preserving and maintaining some aspect of that individual that has gone before. Sort of, it's a way to, I guess you could say, sort of keep them near. You know, there is something to be said about being able to wrap yourself in memories, as the introduction to that craft said, you know, to be able to wrap yourself in memories of that person. So that's something that you can potentially do if you're someone who is good at, you know, sewing, crafting. If you're not, maybe you know someone who can help you, who can do this for you. So that's one suggestion that I have. There are other things I feel that can be done in remembrance and in honor of people that have gone before. For example, doing good or charitable works or deeds in honor of that lost person. I would think it most appropriate if whatever good deed or charitable thing you choose to do is something that your lost loved one would support very much. For example, if they loved children, maybe you could do something like sponsoring a child or giving to a children's charity. If, let's say, they were an animal lover, you could donate to a shelter. If they loved sports, if they were a sports fan, maybe you could donate to or volunteer to help a children's sports team or something, you know, with a school. Something that they felt passionate about. Now, I'm not saying if you have no interest in that, you should do it just because they liked it. I would think that you should have some interest in that sort of charity if you're going to volunteer or if you're going to give. Because if you absolutely don't feel a pull at all towards something and you're only doing it because somebody else felt passionate about it, let's say if you volunteer, your volunteering may not be the best volunteering that you could do because you're going to hate every moment of it. You won't be giving, I think, as much as you could, you know, of your time and your attention and your focus and your care and whatever. Monetary-wise, well, money's money, but why would you want to put money into something you don't feel passionate about? It should be something that they stood for, but that you also can respect and feel good about giving to, whether it's time or money or whatever, goods that you donate, whatever it is. Another way that you can honor the memory of a lost loved one is passing on something that they have taught you. If, for example, you learned from this loved one a craft or a skill or maybe a recipe or a valuable insight or a valuable piece of advice, whatever it is that they may have particularly taught you or maybe instilled in you, something that they have contributed to your experience, you could pass it on so that the gift they gave you will touch more lives and allow that departed loved one to continue to better the world by extension through you. Particularly as well if you're maybe a parent who has lost, let's say, a parent or a grandparent, or if, let's say, you've lost maybe the father or mother of your children, and you want to pass along something that departed loved one taught you. Again, it can be, like I said, it can be a craft, a technique, how to do something, a piece of valuable insight. It could be a recipe. It could be any number of things, something that they taught you or they left you with. You could pass that on to your children so that future generations in the family can continue to keep that memory alive, and that departed loved one can continue to enrich future generations in your family, the lives of future generations. But again, it doesn't have to be your kids. If you don't have kids, that's fine. If it was, let's say, a friend you lost or whoever it was, it doesn't matter. Even if you lost a child and they taught you something and you pass that thing on to someone else, anyone else, it doesn't matter. You know, if you do this, you'll feel it inside who would probably be the most appropriate person to pass it on to. You don't necessarily have to be related to whoever you pass that knowledge or insight or ability or whatever it is that they left you with and taught you. You don't have to pass that on to someone who's related to you. But maybe consider, when passing that skill or knowledge or recipe or whatever it is on, be sure to tell the person you're passing it on to where you learned that and why it's important to in turn pass that on. So in a way, it's kind of like saying, okay, this gift was given me, and my sharing this with you is my way of honoring so-and-so. I only ask that you in turn will share this gift with someone else or some other people in the future, you know, whoever you feel is appropriate. So that's another way of letting that loved one's memory and influence carry on. I think it is a very appropriate and productive way of honoring someone that has passed on, you know, letting their legacy live on through their teachings. I think that is something that potentially can be very therapeutic and also very beneficial, not just to yourself but to others, because it brings comfort in knowing that that person's influence does carry on, but also, again, it continues to, by extension, better the world and touch people's lives, you know, make other people's lives more, you know, enriched, potentially easier, depending what it is that you're sharing. You know, it's a way of maintaining that sort of bond even beyond the veil with that person that has gone before, letting their knowledge, their wisdom, their experience, their skills live on and continue to preserve their memory. Now, I have one final suggestion. I thought about the concept of planting a memorial tree. There are several organizations that offer this service. You can go to various websites online. If you Google "plant a memorial tree," you'll probably find a lot of different websites online where you can access organizations that provide this service. One example I'm not saying this is better than others. I'm not like saying, oh, this is the one you have to go with. I'm just giving you one example of one that I happened to come across when I searched this concept of planting a memorial tree. One site is called thetreesremember.com. And on that site, I'm going to have the link for you down below so you can go and check that out. On this site, they say, trees make a perfect memorial gift and let you express your sympathy and condolences for the losses of friends and loved ones in a unique and spiritual way. The gift of a memorial tree or grove is enduring, symbolic, and will grow stronger and blossom with life year after year. It is a gift of life which helps support and heal both those who receive it as well as our planet. Now, you can give this as a gift to someone else who has lost someone, or you can even just do this for yourself in your grief process, in your process of memorializing someone that you have lost. One thing that they do give you on this particular site, on thetreesremember.com, they give you a little tree charm on a waxed cord that I guess you could wear around your neck or keep with you, or if you want to put it in your car, whatever you want to do with it, they give it to you. It's a small eternity memorial tree is what they call it. It's a charm of a tree on a waxed cord, and it's included with the acknowledgement card, and it is they say it is an elegant way of keeping memories of the honored close at hand. I thought that's a nice touch. But I do want to say you don't need to plant a memorial tree through an organization. If you have a good amount of land, you can go to a plant nursery or somewhere that sells trees and plants and garden stuff, garden plants and all that kind of stuff. You can buy an established sapling and plant your own memorial tree. You could also consider maybe burying something meaningful at the roots of the tree, such as perhaps a printed photo of your departed loved one. I would say do it on plain paper. I wouldn't say use photo paper because there are chemicals. There's a lot more chemicals in photo papers. But you could print just on a plain piece of paper their photo, or perhaps a saved lock of their hair might be something you want to bury at the roots of the tree. Or maybe even if they were cremated and didn't ask for their ashes to be spread in a specific place, if you still have some of their ashes, maybe you could even bury a pinch of their ashes at the roots of the tree. Or alternately, if none of these three options, if the photo, the lock of hair, or the ashes are not something you want to do, you could alternately write a letter to your departed loved one saying things that you may have wanted to say but didn't necessarily have a chance to say while they were still alive. And as the letter biodegrades, the intention behind it, the message that you put into that letter, it can be released into the universe, as it degrades and feeds the tree and as the tree grows. And it carries with it, as it is released, all the things you've wanted so much to say. It carries your message out into the universe. And I think this particular aspect of planting a memorial tree, the aspect of burying a letter at its roots, is especially maybe helpful, or potentially it could be therapeutic, I think, for people that feel a sense of lack of closure in that they may not have had the chance to say a proper goodbye or to say certain things that they maybe wanted to say but didn't have the chance to say, especially if the passing was sudden. So that's something to consider as well. Obviously, these are not the only ways in which you can honor a lost loved one. And I did state that at the beginning of this video. These are just some suggestions, some ideas. If these don't resonate with you, again, don't feel any need to do these things. I'm just suggesting these in the event that they may resonate with some people. But I hope you enjoyed this video anyway. I hope it at least inspired you in some way to think outside the box in regard to ways that you may honor someone who has gone before, who you may possibly still be grieving, or may, let's say, just want to keep their memory alive in a positive and productive way. You know, whether that be through making a quilt or a coverlet, whether that be through doing good deeds or charity works, or donating things in their memory, or whether that be in the passage of their knowledge or skills or wisdom, you know, passing that forward, or whether that be in the planting of a memorial tree. I feel that these are all some ways in which we can find some sense of productivity and a shift of focus from the pain of loss to productivity, you know, ways in which we can allow this person's memory and influence to carry on in the world and continue to not just preserve their memory, but what are the words I'm looking for? But also to I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, to continue to do good and to continue to, you know, nurture and help. And, you know, these are ways that you can have their legacy go on in productivity. And I think maybe these can potentially bring comfort to you as well. And I don't think it matters so much if you lost your loved one recently, or if you've maybe lost them quite long ago. If these suggestions, if any of these have inspired you, or if any of these seem appropriate to you, by all means, do them. Or even if, let's say, you like part of some of the suggestions I brought forward, but you have ideas that take that in a little bit of a different direction, don't hesitate to do that. Whatever is appropriate to you. I'm just bringing this forward because now that we're moving into the fall season, it's that time of year, you know, where a lot of us feel very drawn to honoring those that have gone before, those that we love, that we have lost. So, yeah, I hope that this video has been helpful. And I'm going to wish you all now a wonderful rest of your day. It's, I guess you could say late afternoon by now. But yeah, you know, I wish you a wonderful Monday, and I wish you blessed be in Ashe. If you have any comments, any thoughts, questions, anything you'd like to contribute, if you have any suggestions you'd like to share with other people, maybe you've done something to honor, memorialize someone that you've lost that was very therapeutic for you, and you may want to suggest that for other people that may read the comments, because people do read the comments. Maybe if you feel comfortable talking about that in the comments, maybe you can provide someone else with another suggestion or suggestions that may help to, you know, soothe their heart a little bit, and maybe even potentially bring them some closure in the experience of, I guess you could say, sort of saying goodbye or accepting the loss. Now, that's not to say that loss ever becomes easy. You know, I think there's a part in your heart that will always maintain that sense of loss and that sense of missing them. You know what I mean? There's always a place in your heart for that person. I don't think the grief process ever quite goes away. It's not like it ends at any specific point, but in the same token, I think the process does take you from a very raw place to eventually a place where you can accept what has happened, and you can carry their memory and honor their memory, but continue forward. So, yeah, I hope this maybe is helpful to that, and I hope that those of you who are willing to contribute to the conversation, that you will feel welcome to do so, and that if you do share your suggestions or things that you've done, do so knowing that you may actually be helping someone else in their time of need or in their time of difficulty to process their own grief. So, with that said, I'm going to do my best to regularly post again. And yeah, until next time, until our next exchange, you all stay tuned, stay awesome, and bye-bye for now.